Hello there everyone, welcome to another video on the channel and welcome to what was going to be a Daily Race race and strategy guide, which is sort of more going to be a bit of an opinion piece. It's just going to be me waxing lyrical about this week's Daily Race C and how we've managed to get here. Obviously we're coming to you a little bit later in the week than normal, but as you'll be well aware, Daily Race C this week is at Watkins Glen International Long Courses in the Group 4 machinery, and the settings, to be frank, are a bit cack. Fuels at times 2, tyre wears at times 2, just the racing hard tyres, no mandatory stop, no mandatory anything, it's just a sprint race, custom slipstream keeping everybody together, and it looks like it's very quickly become a one make race in the Honda NSX. However, I do suspect there's probably more than one car that can be competitive here. So, as I said, the settings for this one are a little bit rubbish. There's nothing to it. You don't need me to tell you how to suck eggs, as they say here in Scotland. So let's move on to just talking about this race in a kind of slightly different manner. Now, before we get on to that, I did try to do something a little bit creative to give you something to watch in the background. We'll talk about that as the video goes on. It didn't quite work out as intended, but you know, if you're a little bit bored of what you've got to watch, you can play Try and Spot Womble's car. That'll pass at least 20 seconds for you, but yes, I spent 2 hours trying to get this, and as I said, this hasn't quite worked out as I wanted it to, but yeah, we'll have to roll with it. Might as well make use of the footage that we recorded. But yeah, what I want to kind of talk about is, like, you know, how does this manage to happen in a daily race? Because I spoke about quality control in a video not so long ago, and there has to be some kind of quality control at Polyphony Digital when these daily races are created. Whether it's created by a bot, whether it's created by a person, somebody with seniority or authorization has to basically sign a race off on the Friday to then get uploaded onto the server. So it leads me to think, is like, how does that happen? Like, is, you know, do Polyphony Digital not understand their audience? Do they not understand their Daily Race C audience? Let's put it that way. Because what I've always said separates Gran Turismo from other racing games is that they managed to make a sort of 20-minute race feel like an endurance race with the inclusion of strategy, multiple tyre compounds, and different ways of doing the race. Every other sim out there that I'm aware of, maybe with the exception of Forza Motorsport, a 20-minute race is always a sprint race. You have enough fuel, you don't have to worry about your tyres, you just drive for 20 minutes. It can be very boring because you can't overtake, and a lot of the time you end up just driving about by yourself. The USP of Daily Race C and Gran Turismo is that a 20-minute race can have strategy, and it can mix the things up, and the race can be a little bit more interesting than just a sprint race. So why PD are kind of like demoting their, I guess, what would be their feature race in the daily races to be just like everybody else, I don't quite understand. But somewhere something has gone wrong in the quality control of Gran Turismo 7's Daily Race C, because objectively Daily Race C on Gran Turismo 7 is worse than Gran Turismo Sport. We have less cars, we only have 16 cars, we had 20 cars on Gran Turismo Sport. We've got custom slipstream, which is just ridiculous in terms of racing into arcade racing. We had real slipstream on GT Sport. It was still strong enough. You got a good pull, you could overtake quite easily if you got your car into the right position. We had strategy pretty much every week on multiple tyre compounds with a tyre wear model that promoted strategy. In Gran Turismo 7 we barely ever get multiple tyre compounds now, and the way the races are set up, the way the tyre wear model works, which is better now than it has been for a while but still not as good as the original, strategy still becomes very limited, and then the inclusion of the bonkers slipstream really negates strategy even further. So yeah, objectively I would say overall as a product, Daily Race C on Gran Turismo 7 is worse than Gran Turismo Sport. Now there is a few things in 7 that is better. Of course we have the dynamic weather. Oh wait a minute, we don't actually use that in Gran Turismo 7 Daily Race C, do we? So yeah, that's just now, that's an equaliser. It's just the same as it was on GT Sport, so an advantage that the game's got isn't even used. So I'm just a little bit baffled. I've been baffled for a long time. I think a lot of people have been baffled for a long time as to just how such a bad, poorly set up race for Daily Race C manages to make it out the door. And I don't really know how we can change things. I don't really think things are going to change. I just don't think some of the people making decisions at Polyphony Digital understand what makes Daily Race C unique, what gives it its unique selling point over other racing games, what people who predominantly race Daily Race C, like myself, why they come to Gran Turismo 7. Sometimes they get it right, I guess, enough just to keep us coming back, but yeah, I just think there's a failure to quite understand their audience, and I guess, you know, 5 years down the line of sport mode, 6 years down the line of sport mode, 7 years down the line of sport mode, was it 2017, 2018 that sport mode first became a thing? I just think we are looking at a product now that is worse than it used to be 4 or 5 years ago, which is just an outstandingly crazy thing to say if you ask me. But yes, not a fan of this race. It's just a sprint race, it's poorly set up. The custom slipstream at Watkins Glen will be a bit of a nightmare. We can only hope for better next week. We can only hope that somebody, somewhere manages to get through to whoever's making these daily races, Daily Race C in particular for me, and things start to get better. But thank you very much for watching, folks. Hopefully you spotted my car, and I'll catch you on the next one. Goodbye now.